So, welcome everyone for Chennai DAO's first webinar and also our second event we are conducting. Today, the webinar is about the Merkle trees and the proof of reserves of centralized exchanges, which has become a very hot topic after the recent crash of FTX and the meltdown of FTX. And so all the exchanges are actually scrambling to put out their proof of reserves and their external audited reports to ensure their users' concerns, answer the user concerns, and also ensure that they're safe enough to operate. And they hold the reserves of all their users' tokens, cryptos, whichever it may be, right? So today I have with me here Shantanu of Quill Audits. Hi, Shantanu. And also Arjun Vijay of Giottus Exchange, a Chennai-based exchange. So I would like to, Arjun, I will start with you. Give a brief introduction about yourself and what does Giottus do right now and what's your current position? And yeah.
So, I mean, a brief introduction. Giottus has been there in the market since 2017. So this is our second bear market, right? So see, a lot of people swim naked, and when the tide goes down, we see actually who are the people who are having the clothes on and who are swimming naked, right? And at this point of time, like you pertinently said, this is very, very important. This is almost like Ramayana, right? When there are rumors, right? Sita had to walk by fire. Sita could have just made the statement, trust me, right? But she went through that process, trial by fire, right? I think a lot of people, when they ask, like, why don't you show your proof of reserves? The first thing they say is, I don't want to share confidential information. I don't want competitor to learn from me, right? But I think crypto is all about decentralization, transparency, and I am very happy to be part of this webinar where we actually discuss this stuff. This is very, very important, right? A lot of people think it's not required for someone to be transparent, right? People tweet build in public, right? But they don't want to build in public, right? So Giottus has been in this market for 5-6 years, right? We have been very conservative in terms of marketing, in terms of spends, right? We want to do these things in a boring manner, right? We don't want to like crash and die, right? Like how, I mean, FTX came out of nowhere. In 2 years they become the second largest exchange, and now they are again back to the place where they started from. Actually they went below the place where they started from, right? So Giottus, the philosophy of Giottus is the antithesis of that, right? We are here to build for the long term, right? 20 years from now, 30 years from now, there should be a brand. It's not that we just built an unicorn and 3 years from now again it ceased to exist, right? So yeah, that's about me and Giottus and general introduction to this topic. Yeah.
Thank you, Arjun. Shantanu, and Quill Audits, and what do you do at Quill Audits?
Yeah, sure. So basically, I'm a smart contract auditor at Quill Audits. Is my voice echoing or is it fine?
It's fine. It's fine.
I think we'll mute between us when one of us is not speaking.
Okay, sure. So basically, I'm a smart contract auditor at Quill Audits. So at Quill Audits, we actually do cybersecurity audits of various projects that launch on blockchain, and basically we are saving these projects from hacks. So finding bugs in these projects, critical projects, like critical level bugs in which funds can get lost. So the smart contracts hold a huge amount of funds, and even a single bug, if you miss, that can result in huge amount of losses. So audits kind of help reduce the risk of these hacks that happen. And definitely centralization issue is one of the common for these hacks. And so yeah, we have been also working since 4 years at least. So we have also seen the bear market of 2018, and so that is not quite new stuff for us also. So yeah, that is a thing there. And I guess, yeah, so yeah, that's pretty much what we do. Yeah.
Thank you, Shantanu, for the introduction. And I think that as we said, I believe the hottest topic is after the FTX meltdown, right? Why? But Similar things also happened previously with Quadriga X and also Metagox and BitMEX and other exchanges, previous exchanges also, right? But why is it now? Why do you think, Arjun, right now, like at this point of time, this much of the topic got much more heated? Is it because of the money involved, or what do you think your views on that actually?
First thing is, like, I'll be very honest, right? I was not there during the time of Mount Cox, right? And I was not there during the time of, let's say, Quadriga. We are not in Canada. But at this point of time, with respect to FTX, I know how the market feels, right? This was a shock, right? At least for Luna, we kind of expected the way it was designed. It was an algorithmic Ponzi. If you look at Celsius, Voyager, they had to take yield somewhere, and they could have got some Luna exposure. There were some rumors, right? But over the last 6 months, if you kind of realize, people used to say that Alameda is the one who liquidated them. Alameda is making profit out of retail. Alameda knows your positions. So when the FTX thing came, and the biggest shocking news is that they had 0 Bitcoins, right? They didn't have 1 Bitcoin, they didn't have 2 Bitcoin, they had 0 Bitcoins, right? That is when people got like shocked, right? It's okay if you are not having 30% of the Bitcoins. This happened with Vault also, right? So when you have like so many players who just said trust, if you look at also the flow, right? Celsius said, trust me, I have enough reserves, right? If you look at FTX, they said, trust me, I have enough reserves. Luna said the funds are incoming, right? But if they do things transparently, this would have never happened, right? Once this happened, you kind of saw what happened in Twitter, right? The citizen journalism took off, right? People start sharing like, these are the possible addresses of this particular company, right? And this is how the funds are flowing. So people started tracking, right? Some of them was black hat stuff, some of them was white hat stuff, right? All the funds that are moving out of FTX, even after they stopped withdrawals, right? So that is when actually at that point in time, organization could actually help these people, right? Okay, this is where the funds are stored, right? So if it is a bank, right, I just have to trust the word of the bank CEO that they have enough funds, or an RBI audit report. But with respect to crypto, or I mean, even forget all the institution stuff, right? When I make a UPI payment to my taxi guy, right, I have to say, trust me, the money has got reduced from my account, right? It's on the way reaching you, but it shows processing, right? So the other guy doesn't trust me, right? Even if I share the transaction ID, there's no way for him to check. But with respect to Bitcoin, this never happens, right? I say that I've sent Bitcoin to you. The first question you'll ask is, right, where's the transaction ID, right? So there is a blockchain provides a way to publicly verify things, right? Once you have this in place, it's just a matter of time, right? If you say you have 10 Bitcoins, there's a way for you to show that you have to see, for example, Shantanu here might have 15 lakhs in his account, right? I can ask him whether he has 15 lakhs, give me a proof. He will show a screenshot. That screenshot should be edited, right? How can I check whether Shantanu has 15 lakhs or not, right? But in blockchain, he cannot fool around, right? I cannot fool around, right? If I say I have 15 Bitcoins, I need to show the address, right? Again, I cannot show random address because people are able to investigate, right? So because it's possible to verify reserves, right? People are asking for it, right? Like I already mentioned in the starting, initially a lot of people are skeptical, right? I don't want my competitor to know how many customers I have, what kind of volume I'm doing, right? Where my reserves are stored, how much assets under management I have, right? But if you look at the nature, right? Already Chainalysis kind of knows how much Bitcoins are there in each of the exchanges. Nansen has that report, right? Messari has that report. Now, what exchanges are doing is they are just refining that and providing the little bit of extra information. Already they got 80 to 85%. Now this additional 10-15%. And if you're newly creating a cold wallet address and you're moving funds from A to B, right? People should not panic looking at Messari or a Nansen, right? Oh my God, this guy is so much fund is moving out. Is the exchange bankrupt, right? I can actually add this to my proof of reserves and show this is also an address that belongs to me. And this is where I'm moving my funds from, right? So, and the second part is, if you look at our competition, right? Our competition is also not just the other exchanges, right? It's also Aave, it's also Compound, it's also Uniswap, right? If Uniswap can have everything in public, right? The amount of TVL that they have, the amount of volume that they do, why can't Giottus do the same, right? That is the philosophy. I think we are going in the right path, right? We cannot say that we want to decentralize, right? We want to have a trustless solution, then again do things in a shady manner. I think FTX is a time that it opened all the people's eyes, right? from regulators, from the retail, right? So I think this is a statement that goes for a long time, right, in crypto, like trust but verify, right? Don't trust, verify, right? I think the essence of proof of reserves is just that, right? I can say that I have enough reserves, right? But you should not trust me. You should ask me, show me the reserves, right? And I have the obligation to do that.
So I think this brings to the question that okay, this brings to the question that proof of reserves. How do we establish that this is whatever proof of reserves we are declaring is actually truthful enough and correct, and how do we ensure that? See, as a, we know that proof of reserves should, for every exchange, basically proof of reserves divided by proof of liabilities is its solvency ratio. Ideally, it should be above 1. That means whatever, let's say if exchange has the deposits from its customers around $100 million, they should have equivalent amount of reserves on their on-chain reserves, more than $100 million. More than $100 million or more and above that. That may include your own liquidity and your own assets, right? Exchange assets. So I think the question mark here comes in is that how do we verify these reserves and ensure that if I own a wallet in your exchange, how I'm part of that actually. So bringing that to the question, I think I would like to ask Shantanu that what role does Merkle trees? The concept of Merkle trees or hash trees are actually also prominent enough. What role does this play? And how long? What's the stage of this technology right now, and who are using it? And what's is there an open source solution available for everyone to use it? So, Shantanu, it's for you.
Sure. So basically, when Arjun basically gave the example of let's say I have 15 lakhs, prove me that you have 15 lakhs, or the specific transaction ID. If I'm sending you 15 lakhs, show me the transaction ID, right? So basically, this implementation of transaction ID is actually implemented in the Merkle tree itself. So Bitcoin, as you see, it uses the concept of Merkle trees in it. So it uses this data structure of Merkle trees in itself. So each of the transaction that is added in a blockchain, in a Bitcoin blockchain, is nothing but adding it in a form of Merkle trees. So so can a blockchain be possible without a Merkle tree? If we ask this question, this was the question asked by Vitalik Buterin. So basically, you will be able to have, but it will not be scalable enough. So what a Merkle tree basically allows you is that there are, say, nodes, a lot of little nodes, data in this little nodes. What you can do is that you can hash 2 of these nodes, and whatever parent node you get, you hash even that, and you get another node, and you keep hashing these parent nodes until and unless you get a single root node. That is basically what you can call the proof that all these data points that you have there is kind of represent all these data points. So what is the use of it? So basically, it allows you to kind of verify and check whether these data points were changed or not, right? So these are nothing but hash, one-way single 256 hash function is used. So the thing about this is that it is very sensitive. Even if you change 1 bit of information, the complete hash changes. So you cannot fool around with it, right? So the Ethereum blockchain also uses Merkle trees. So if you have done any transaction on Bitcoin or Ethereum, it means you have interacted with the Merkle tree itself, right? So that is basically the thing about Merkle trees there. Yeah.
So can we say this is the right method to verify? Are there any other methods available? If there, if so, why is this method the best method in the market right now? And do you think any new future methods are in discussion?
So what I think about it is that this technique is not new basically. So this has been used to verify the reserves of other assets. So I guess it was Bitcoin Gold, and it was Tether also. So the only difference was that their reserves are kept off chain, right? So in auditing, some of these techniques have already been used. So we have some examples in front of our eyes, and obviously if you have something to refer to, it's much more believable to use and build on top of that. So I think that's why this technique is being used and extrapolated. And yeah, it's not very hard to understand, so you can understand it to on a high level. So yeah, and it's obviously verifiable, or the blockchains are built upon it. So yeah.
So, Arjun, I mean, like coming to this point, I mean, like, yes, so the proof of reserves can be established and can be on a real time, be watched and verified, by the users basically. And with the Merkle tree, I think they can basically check whether my address is also part of that or not. That's the key, this one, right? With the Merkle tree. I mean, basically, if I have an address in Giottus exchange, I can check the address, put key in the address in the Merkle tree hash ID, and then verify whether what is showing in my wallet, so what is showing in my exchange application, in the mobile application, is also matching with the this one. But there's also one more. What about the question mark comes in is that it's fine. I mean, like Ethereum is there, but I may hold multiple coins which belong to different layer one blockchains, like for example Tron, Solana, Ethereum, Polygon, Matic, and some in Binance. So how practical do you think is this possible in all the verifying this data in all the blockchains? Is it possible simultaneously, or I need to have verify each and everything separately? Actually,
I think the technology with which we verify the Merkle tree and the coin, that asset which we are verifying, doesn't have to be in the same this thing, right? I can actually even verify, let's say, physical this thing, let's say Tether, right? Through a Merkle tree, like he rightly pointed out, right? All I'm saying is I'll include each of your balances, right? So basically, the fundamental thing about Merkle tree is if you leave one of those roots out, right, or one of the input leaves out, right, the final Merkle root will be completely different. All the user needs to verify is whether his particular this thing. See, basically what I'm listing is I have 10 lakh customers, right? These are each of those balances for each of these coins, right? For each user, I'm giving their hash, right? I'm not revealing the name of the customer, right, or the identity of the customer. I'm just revealing that hash, right? And I'm computing the final Merkle root, right? And each user independently will be able to see whether his particular hash has been included within that Merkle root or not, right? And then based on that, he can verify, right? There are some challenges, definitely, right? Example, within an exchange, the balance continuously changes, right? For example, Shantanu sells 2 Bitcoins now, right? How fast can I update the Merkle tree, right? Because his liability is down by 2, someone's liability increases by 2, right? So these kind of things. And when we launch a new coin, right, how do we immediately integrate that? Because see, as an exchange, we have a lot of priorities, right? First and foremost is how do we ensure security, right? That becomes the first part, right? So the second part is how do we ensure there is convenience to the users, right? Launching new coins, supporting new protocols, right? Supporting new product features, right? And Merkle is part of this, right? So this is also important, that how much importance the customers are giving to it, right? A lot of customers will say, I need let's say baby Dodge on your platform right now. I don't care about proof of reserves, right? So even if you look at Binance, right, they have not gone for a full-fledged implementation. There is like, it's a phased manner. Right? So far it was like completely black box, right? The first thing is showing your cold wallet addresses, right? The second step is revealing all your hot wallet addresses, right? You can have millions of hot wallet addresses, right? Like you said, multiply the number of customers with the number of blockchains that you support, right? You have to reveal all that, right? Because you may sweep them all into a hot wallet, or a cold wallet, or you may leave some of the addresses just blank, right? So when a customer is receiving all those complications, right? So and the third part is the liabilities, implementing the Merkle tree, right? And it also needs a UI change and all those things, right? As a company, we believe the first and foremost thing is the easiest thing to do, right? You try to do the low hanging fruit, that is declare what is the reserves you have, right? Then you look at, I actually have to commend what Binance did, right? Being a number one position, like no one was even questioning whether Binance had enough reserves or not, right? But they went forefront and did it, right? Probably they did it because they can, right? Because they have enough reserves, right? And they challenged everyone else to do it, and it's a healthy challenge, right? So but they didn't wait for the full solution to do that, right? The first thing is they declared for the top 10 assets, because end of the day it's Pareto law, right? The top 10 assets, you're able to declare all your reserves, right? I know at least you are like decently capitalized. You're not running an empty show like what FTX did, right? Basically, there's a movie in Tamil Nadu, like where Vadivel opens the door and it's empty completely. Outside, you think it's a house, right? But when you open the door, there's nothing inside. That's how FTX was. They didn't have any Bitcoins. They had like very limited quantity of Ethereum, right? It was a complete.
I think the last 2 weeks have been flooded with memes, actually, with all the kinds of memes available right now.
Yeah. So liability may not be easy to implement for all the exchanges, right? Maybe a third-party provider will come up with a ready-made solution, or the custodians, right? Some of us use custodians like BitGo. So they will come up with their own solution, right? In the meanwhile, I'll suggest that do whatever you can that increases the transparency, that increases the trust, right? That is my suggestion. If you can do 2 steps, you do 2 steps, right? Then talk about implementing third step, give a timeline, right? That's fine, right? Just because you can't do the 4th or 5th step, you think it's very complex. Just because I cannot give 100%, right? I should not even participate. That's not the right attitude. That's how I'll put it.
That's so cool. And Shantanu, so Gate.io already actually did a Merkle tree point in time approach, and most of the exchanges are actually coming up with this, right? So for a user to verify and validate whether this one is to verify and validate, and for assume that in a question mark, a third-party auditor, most of them are going with the concept of either self-assessment or going with the audited assessment, actually. So do you think Quill Audits has a part to play in that? If that is the case, what would be the scenario, and how do you verify the whole data of the reserves and comparing that with the liabilities?
Okay, sure. So to explain this, I will tell you briefly through the journey of how this proof of reserves assessment actually happens. So as Arjun rightly pointed out, so basically you provide balances and account IDs of everything that is present on an exchange, right? Then you go through the process of hashing each of these IDs and balances until you create this Merkle tree, right? You keep adding all these data points in the Merkle tree. And after you have added this, you kind of publish the root of it to like the public. Then what this actually is done by the auditor. Then you verify the reserves, all these reserves, by sending an on-chain transaction of self to self. So it's like you send like some amount to self, and it's like randomly you choose some accounts from it, and you return the list of the accounts, and you check whether these account balances actually match what you see in the Merkle root. And that kind of helps you verify whether this is correct or not. And obviously this will help in kind of verifying what is there on chain. So proof of reserves can tell you what the assets are on chain, but for the liabilities, definitely you need that the exchange kind of can also fake this, right? He can not tell you all his liabilities. So he will just tell you a part of liabilities. What you will do then? So that is something that cannot be mitigated with that. So obviously there comes trust issues there. Also, as you said, what this is done in a single point of time, right? So for example, I'll tell you the example of Gate.io. So even they were doing this audit, but was at a single point of time. So there was a suspicious transaction that was done from crypto.com to gate.io, and crypto.com says that it had accidentally sent a huge amount of money to gate.io, and then it was they had worked it, and they had sent it back to everyone. But again, this kind of makes it suspicious. So the point when they had sent it, this was exactly when the audit had to start, before the audit had to start. So yeah, that is something that is that can be fooled here.
I mean, like, yeah, I mean, like, I'm as a chartered accountant myself. We were actually, I mean, like, our entire project of CRSP Finance is about enabling financial transparency to Web3 community, right? So we also in our team, basically, we were discussing how do you ensure that the proof of liabilities of an exchange is perfect. I mean, like, how do you verify that, right? I think major role, you can definitely say that the exchanges may not. And if you look at the case of FTX bankruptcy filing, there were almost 135 plus companies, not just FTX US, but all the countries they're actually running an exchange. Basically, as per regulations, they definitely need to have a company. So that means that each and every company actually holds certain amount of liabilities, and all these need to be consolidated and showcased as liabilities actually. So who is going to do that, and how is it going to be verified? I think currently there is no regulation in space. I mean, like there's practically no regulation in space to do so, and we live in a complete cross-border world where exchange is operating in heavy number of countries than this one. I'm not sure. I think it's a regulation which has to come into play. And coming to that, Arjun, what do you think? I mean, like after this role, taking it to India, I think India is already strict about the regulation. They're already charging 1% of TCS on every transaction they're doing. Even CG himself has mentioned that India is a tough place to for exchanges to survive. One, how are you doing that? And what kind of regulation do you expect to come in the future days? And how do you think that will impact Giottus? And are you talking with the government actively to ensure some kind of regulation or other comes into place to secure your own business also, right? You are running the exchange business. I think you're on mute, Arjun.
So the first and foremost thing I think we all three will agree is scams are bad for the ecosystem, right? If there is another company like FTX that scams, right, it's not just their customers that are getting affected, right? They kind of scare a lot of customers away from the crypto as a whole, right? Whatever happened with Vault, right? Whatever happened with Quadriga, right? Whatever happened with Celsius, a lot of customers who got burnt, who got their assets in these places, right? Some of them, they're not going to come to this ecosystem at all, right? It's a value loss for all these people, right? And probably when crypto becomes huge, right, when the price increases, right, it's again these people again they are like punished again, right? They got burned, so they stayed away from the system, and then it's an opportunity loss, right? So we are one of the so I think it kind of becomes this thing that all the good players, they start asking for regulation so that these bad players don't scare the customers away, right? When you see a scam happening right in front of you, right, you are kind of, it hurts you, right? I mean, it's your customer who is losing funds. See, every time when we read, even outside crypto, right, customers funds are getting stolen in a bank account, or from their house gold is getting stolen, it kind of hurts you, right? And when it happens in your own ecosystem, right in front of you, then it's not a great thing, right? Even outside these exchanges, there are a lot of other scams that are taking place, right? So I think government needs to come up with a regulation that kind of standardize, starts giving licenses, who should do what, right? What is the minimum set of security things that they need to have, right? All those things, minimum standard how is data being protected, and all those things. Government needs to set up a regulation, right? So how currently government is approaching this is, first thing is like they are looking at the solved areas, right? They think taxation is, see, if you look at crypto, there is a technology part, there is a monetary part, then there's a cross-border part, right? A lot of complexities. It's not a very easy problem, right? We keep saying that government is delaying with the regulation, but we have to give it to them, right? It's not so easy, especially for a country like India, where we have a different set of capital controls and all those things compared to a country like US or Europe, where it's possible to implement all this. So what government is doing is they're looking at solved problems, right? Taxation, I don't have to worry about technology or cross-border. If you're trading it here, I'm going to tax you, right? And to prevent tax evasion, they also bring this tax deduction at source part, right? The TDS of 1%, which is very draconian. But from our side, what we are looking at is 2 years back, this was completely unregulated, right? You had this question, how is government going to treat this? Are they going to ban it, right? Now I'm kind of happy in the sense that at least government is regulated.
Taking this for instance, I remember an incident where the Zeppace, or I'm not sure, Zeppe or Uripace founders were actually arrested sometime missing for having a Bitcoin ATM in Bangalore,
Yes.
right? So that
Yes.
was the days of 2018 actually. I think, yes,
Correct.
comparatively with the 30% taxation also, I can happily say to my clients nowadays that, crypto is legal because at least see they're taxing 30%, you're asking you to pay the taxes, right?
Yeah. So it's also, I mean, of course, right? They can tax illegal assets. So from legal point of view, it's still unregulated. But we kind of see the intention of the government, right? Government is not going to do this if they are going to ban it in 3 months or 6 months, right? They are looking to solve the problem in the long run. And meanwhile, they are at least giving clarity on the problems on these areas where they have fair idea, right? You look at advertisement, they have come up with regulations, right? For indirect taxes, I think soon they are going to come up with some kind of clear policy guidelines where it will be charged, how it will be charged, what rates, right? But overall regulations, it's going to take time because RBI is not sitting in the table, right? You need to have all the people in the table having a discussion. RBI is not even willing to be part of the table, right? There is government, there is SEBI, whether it's going to be treated like a shares, right? Because there's a lot of trading that's happening. Because primarily in India, a lot of people trade, right? So most of the things come under SEBI jurisdiction, if you look at it, right, from that perspective. But there is cross-border, there's monetary aspect, so RBI also has to. So, and we are also looking for regulations across the world, right? We are looking to see how Japan is regulating it, how US is regulating it, how Australia is regulating it. And based on that, we will try to come up with our own set of rules, right? So that is the reason Indian government's position has always been, we cannot do this alone, right? We need to have a comprehensive regulation sitting together, right? When India became the leader of the G20, right? This is one of the agenda that they are carrying, right? We will sit with all other countries and we'll come up with a comprehensive law that ensures that crypto is treated across the countries in a fair manner, in the same manner, right? We don't want to have a regulatory arbitrage. And after the fiasco of FTX, I think a lot of countries are under pressure to do this faster, right? Some people are saying if they had regulations 3 months back, 6 months back, probably FTX kind of a thing would have got prevented. But actually, FTX was outside all those jurisdictions, right? FTX was based out of Bahamas, right? So probably they could not have done anything, right?
I think
So
the answer to this is basically a global standards of managing and reporting exchange. I mean, like a global standards like if for any reporting services like IFRS or other US GAAP or any GAAP standards. Actually, there should be some kind of reporting standards which will be bought inside, and I think so. Every exchange or centralized authority has to follow, and obviously, I think. What do you think? I mean, like in this scenario, I mean, like we have been seeing the reports that the decentralized exchanges are actually gaining in this aspect right now, and actually the volumes in decentralized exchanges have increased a lot. Shantanu, do you have any take on this? And how safe do you think of the based on the audit, as a security auditor, smart contract auditor, how safe do you think the decentralized exchanges are in this space comparing to the centralized exchanges? And what are their their limitations actually?
Okay, so before that, I would like to share some of my thoughts on the legal aspects which you are talking about right now. So there is a SPDI law which was there in Wyoming. So they recently made a new law in which so this came after the FTX collapse, right? So this is a good step forward in terms of regulation there. So basically there is on their page we can see that this is something like to store assets. These are like banks in which we can store assets, but like this is specifically for the centralized exchanges or for protocols like that. So SPDIs are generally prohibited from making loans with customer deposits of fiat currency, and they must at all times maintain unencumbered level 1 high quality liquid assets valued at 100% or more of the depository liabilities. This is what I'm quoting from their web page. So this is something which regulatory authorities can learn from, and they can implement in at their places. So this ensures like a level of trust for them. And regarding decentralized exchanges, there are various protocols that implement it. Like is the most popular, and it is the one that is pioneering the decentralized exchange movement. So it's basically like you don't need an order book. So there is no order book which allows you to buy and sell these assets. This happens completely trustlessly on one on blockchain. So you can swap from one asset to another. You can buy and sell any asset. So regarding the risks of it, there are risks given there are if certain conditions are there. For example, if the pool in which you're trying to buy and sell your asset, if it has low liquidity, so this can result in price manipulation. So am I audible?
Thank you. So coming to this point, I mean, like for my understanding, basic understanding is that if I see anybody who's into crypto, right? I mean, like, let's start a point with this one. I think for them, 80% of them or more, the gateway for crypto is actually centralized exchanges, because obviously the ease of use, access, and the resistance to learn something new. I mean, like download a MetaMask wallet, going to a Uniswap exchange, or doing a swap, connecting the wallet, selecting the right amount of, selecting the right network, selecting the right this one, considering the gas fees and so on and so forth. I mean, like, and also on ramping and off ramping of fiat. I think the best available are actually, in the end of the case, even if all these hackers were hacking this one, if they want to convert that money into fiat, at the end of the day, they are actually using exchanges. But in the meantime, they're definitely routing the funds, like converting them, swapping them. That's what is happening in the recent case also, right? The FTX funds. So what do you think? I mean, like, what safeguards do you take in this aspect of it, where centralized exchanges are actually becoming tools for the good and also as the bad? So how do you restrict that bad? What at Giottus or any other centralized exchanges, basically, what are the steps do you take into this to consider this into action?
Yeah. So today, I think Bill Ackman, he made a famous quote, I think, which was very pertinent, right? If you look at telephone, internet, or crypto, right? They made the life of scammers easy, right? I mean, look at all the scams that are happening, right? A lot of scams are happening through telephone. A lot of scams are happening because of internet, through emails, through phishing, right? And now there is also crypto to it, right? But we are not saying that crypto should not, or telephone or internet should not be part of our life. We never say that, right? We kind of understand that with any good thing, there are also going to be bad actors who are going to use it for their own nefarious purposes, right? One thing is greed, right? So what are these people promising to these people, right? So that part is definitely there, right? And if you look at DEX versus centralized exchange, right? I think centralized exchanges are more sexy. I'll say CEX, right? The reason is, end of the day, you look at Facebook, you look at adoption, right? If crypto is going to reach to 2 billion people, 5 billion people, right? See, I have utmost respect for DEX, right? Because end of the day, decentralization is what is driving everything, right? Bitcoin, the philosophy itself is decentralized, right? But at this point of time, it needs a ladder, right? For people to enter the crypto world from the offline traditional world, they need a bridge. So centralized exchanges are bridges. And the second point being, people are not very comfortable storing their what to say balances in a centralized in a decentralized manner, right? Because if you look at MetaMask, right, there's not even a second level of authentication at this point of time, right? There are two big problems when it comes to guys, can you hear me? Am I clear?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with respect to DEX, there are two problems, right? When you are storing your own keys, right? The first thing is you should be sure that you are not. If you lose the keys, you know that you lose your money, right? You need to ensure that you have proper backup. The second problem being, if you have multiple backups, right? If a scammer is able to get hold of these private keys, again the fund is gone, right? So if you do, you're screwed. If you don't do, you're screwed. And people always live in a state of fear, right? There are ways to mitigate this, right? To have a proper cold wallet setup. But how do you ensure, like, if you say that mutual funds, people have to remember this 32 letter of words, 32 words, and they have to store it properly before they can invest in a mutual fund. I mean, think how much of adoption mutual funds should have got, right? Or stocks should have got, right? So I think the answer to this is regulated institutions, custodians, right? Which will make the life of these people easy, right? Though, see, end of the day, crypto lets you be your own bank, right? If you can take responsibility of it, right? Take responsibility, right? There's no second opinion, right? But are all the people ready for it, right? That is my biggest question. And if you look at all the scams that are happening through UPI, all the scams that are happening because people share their OTP over the phone or through email, right? I think majority of the people are not ready for this kind of thing, right? If you either we should say that these people should never come into crypto, right? Or we should create mature platforms that will even help these kind of people to be onboarded onto crypto and they don't get scammed, right? So either we have a trustless solution where people don't have to trust any third party, they are going to store it by themselves, or a trust-based solution. That means as a centralized exchange like us, they need to trust to store their crypto, to buy their crypto, to withdraw their crypto, right? So in a trust-based solution, if it's kind of inevitable, right, we cannot do away with it. How can we make that secure, right? That is the second line of question, right? So this proof of reserves is one part, right? Proper regulations is second part, right? At some point in time, like how in India we have a separation of custodian versus an exchange versus a brokerage, right? NSDL is the custodian, right? National Stock Depository Limited, right? NSE is an exchange where the actual trade happens, but customer don't interact directly, right? They go through an interface like Zerodha, right? Even in that we see scams, right? Whatever happened with Carvi, right? But still, this separation reduces a lot of risk. The biggest risk with FTX was Alameda and FTX were one and the same, right? When people are depositing fiat into FTX, they are actually depositing fiat in Alameda's account, according to the screenshot that we can see in Twitter, right? So these kind of regulation, these kind of good practices, right, that can protect even when crypto is stored in trust, in a trusted system, right, rather than a trustless system, right? So I think it's not one versus the other, right? We need both, right? A person who is onboarded through a centralized exchange, maybe 3 years from now, 5 years from now, he'll be equipped to store crypto by himself, right? At some point in time, we'll have good enough centralized, decentralized solutions where people will never have to touch a centralized system at all, right? Everything will happen in a, even fiat on ramp with CBDC and everything, right? Everything can happen through a decentralized manner, right? But till then, as long as people use forgot password at least once a month, right? We need a solution like a centralized exchange, right? I mean, just remember, right? If you cannot use forgot your password, right? What will happen to your Facebook account? What will happen to your Google account? Right? What will happen to your LinkedIn account, on your Twitter account, and even for the Zoho, right? When I want to set up something, I don't have to spend too much time thinking of setting the password because I know I can always reset it, right? But when you store your own crypto, you don't have this option of forgot your password, right? The only safeguard is you store your seed somewhere safe in the backup, right? If it is lost, right, you see that millions of bitcoins have already been lost, right? Because of this, millions have been scammed through the centralized platforms. Millions have been lost because people forgot the keys. They lost the hard drive, or they lost it during a fire, right? So you have to be really, really paranoid. You need to do a lot of steps to actually secure your crypto yourself, right? With great power comes great responsibility. So people need to understand that, right? I'll say, even if you want to try that, start with a small amount, do it for 3 months, 6 months, right? Try to spend that amount after 6 months. If you're able to complete that cycle completely, right, then do this for a larger amount, right? Because people will take control even without actually having the capability of it, right? Build that capacity, learn more about how you can safely store crypto. What are the do's, what are the don'ts, right? See how many people are approving wrong smart contracts in MetaMask, right, and losing their funds, right? Because it's permissionless. There are a lot of smart contract scams that are happening, right? Because this kind of scams generally don't happen through a centralized exchange, right? When you buy an NFT, you don't lose other NFTs. Maybe there will be a NFT that loses value, right? But at least it's not stealing your other NFTs. But when you do interact with a platform and try to buy an NFT, right? If you are not able to properly vet what that smart, see, even look at, I think Shantanu will have a take on this also, right? Smart contracts are not user friendly,
sure.
right? Smart contracts are not user friendly. When I approve a transaction MetaMask, I actually don't know what I'm giving approval for. I don't know what that contract will do, right? There should be some kind of simulation. So till that kind of a maturity happens, right? Players like Giottus have to be there, right? We are happy to become redundant, right? Slowly we'll disappear, right? I think if that's the way, that's fine, right? But till then, I think we need centralized solution and we need proper regulations and safeguards to ensure this centralized this thing don't become another point of scams, right? Yeah.
Thank you, Arjun, for pointing that out. And thank you, Shantanu. I think there are a few questions asked by the users. One is from CryptoMers. If I say I have 2 million, what do I give for my user to prove my claim? If
I think
anyone,
Merkle tree and proof of reserves in a combination of both, right? For example, this CryptoMers has stored 10 bitcoins in Giottus, right? He will get a hash, right? And that hash will be part of the Merkle root where we list all our liabilities, and we also show the proof of reserves, and they can do a 1:1 match, right? So each and every user needs to verify whether their hash is included in that Merkle root or not, right? Or it's a dipstick check. Even if one user claims that his hash is not part of the Merkle root, then that means there is a scam, right? The exchange is not maintaining full reserves.
and second, I think so, is question from Abhiram. Exchange should provide data of all addresses. They are using a periodic reporting of balances for all centralized exchanges. So I think his question was, I think, directed in such a way that what periodicity should actually exchanges do you think is actually likely possible? At what periodicity is the reporting of reserves perfect? And at what periodicity do you publish your proof of liabilities? Because end of the day, with just proof of reserves, it's not sufficient enough. You also need to have a proof of liabilities matching, right?
So I think ideally it's real time, right? That's what you are looking for, right? But you have to look at tech constraints, right? Bandwidth of the operation team, right? We cannot have a team that does only this all the time, right? It's not efficient, especially in the bear market where your revenues are also not going to be great, right? So there's going to be a trade-off, right? The first thing is, at least all the exchanges should do it at least once. They have to start doing it, right? That's the most important thing, right? Then we have to talk about periodicity. Either they have to do every quarter or once a month or once a week or every day, right? It's also that it's all customers, right? Customers will demand, right? If one of them is setting a standard, right, the customer will say, why don't you also do this, right? When people start moving to an exchange that does all this, right, because customers are also confident holding funds in these kind of exchanges, right? I think it will set a standard, and then it's a competition. Everyone will start saying that I actually do it every day. I do it twice a day. Someone will say thrice a day. Someone will say real time. Someone will say ultra real time. I'll have millisecond latency, right? So it's just a race towards real time reserves and latency.
That's where the competition and capitalism comes in.
Yeah, absolutely.
And next from Abhiram. government should implement this when they register in the respective countries. I think we have already answered this, that it's governments are going to come up with some kind of regulatory standard.
And they can actually make it very simple, right? They should make it part of yearly declarations, right? When we submit our financials, our reserves, our liabilities, coin-wise, it's a very simple thing. It's a simple one-line notification that government has to give, and people can just start following it.
And I think before that, they should start giving licenses, register licenses to exchanges, actually.
No. I think that will take a long time. If you wait for, so it may take 6 months, 1 year, because you have to see which body is going to give that license, what is the minimum eligibility criteria. That's going to take a long time, right? Before that, this is one simple step, right? Just say that, because anyways we are doing this financials every year or filing, right? Say part of that report you have to publish your, at least not individually, but cumulative liabilities and cumulative assets, right? At least people might be okay telling lies in front of a computer or in a Twitter, but people are scared of lying in a government document, right?
So I think additional set of work for our chartered accountants like us, actually. So, for audit firms also, I think that is a complete another scenario where auditors should themselves be equipped. This one currently, I think only Aramino is doing this. As far as I keep looking at this one, Aramino, I think they're the top 10 audit firms. I'm not sure even EY or Deloitte or other people are doing it, but I think so. Hopefully, I think in coming days we can see some reports from that. And combining smart contract audits as well as also financial audits, I think is one good future for Quill audits too. I think that's another kind of environment where you can explore, right?
Yeah.
And
there is something that I would like to say regarding where you should actually keep your funds, right? So basically, I kindly disagree with Arjun where you should keep your funds. So for me, keeping your funds on centralized exchange was never safe. Okay, so why I say this, because when you store your crypto on a centralized exchange, right, you actually don't have the access to the private key. So why this FTX was able to send the funds from your account to Alameda Research? Even you had an account on a blockchain, right? You can see the address. It's a public address, right? Why was it able to send? Because FTX had the private key to your account. It had all the private keys of all the accounts. So this means there is a single point of failure. If FTX gets hacked, which was suspected, which happened the very next day when FTX fell. So one hack and all the funds gone. All the funds gone because FTX has all the private keys. So that is a huge, massive hit to crypto. So the problem in blockchain and crypto space is actually not smart contracts and stuff like that, but centralization, right? So take for example all the latest hacks that happened in DeFi. So I've been a smart contract auditor here. So if you will see all the hacks that happened in 2021, just take a report. 44 hacks that happened were like big hacks that happened due to centralization. So the major cause of all these hacks in crypto space is nothing but centralization. So you can say the Certic report. Certic is also an auditing firm. So it was their audit report that centralization was the ironically the most common cause of hacks and loss of crypto in decentralized crypto space. Yeah, so that is something that needs to be mitigated. And if you say regarding saving your funds in decentralized wallets, so decentralized wallets like MetaMask, they are not easy to use because like they are not user friendly. That's correct. And you the only thing is that you actually have the private key with you. When you store your crypto on a on MetaMask wallet, you can be sure that yes, you have the private key to the wallet, and no one without your signing the transaction can send the funds that you have. Be it $1 million, be it $100 million, be it $100 billion. But that is not what we can say with a centralized exchange. And that's and the biggest thing that is there here. And also regarding forgetting passwords, right? So that's a nice feature. That's a feature, right? That's convenient, that if you forget password, you can do a forgot password on a centralized exchange, and they are able to give you the feature of forgot password. Why? Because they have the private key. They can actually help you change the password. That's not the case with MetaMask, right? Because once you forget the password, like you if you have the seed phrase, that's not possible. The MetaMask does not store the password of it, right? So but that is not user friendly for crypto. We want something that is user friendly, something that mainstream, it can go mainstream, right? So this is where zero knowledge proof tech comes, right? So this is the latest cryptographic technique that allows you to recover some private data without actually exposing your private data on chain. So that is really, really cool stuff that is happening in the crypto space right now. You can see ZK EVMs coming up from Polygon. You can see from Starknet. You can see from Nethermind, various companies that are working in this space right now. So yeah, that's what I would like to say here, is that there are research that is happening. Like recently, you can say the multisigs, right? Multisigs are the contracts in which a huge amount of funds is stored, be it Uniswap, be it any Aave. All of them use multisig wallets to store their crypto of decentralized exchanges. So I will tell you the earlier space, what was happening here, right? Earlier, two multisig wallets were not very safe. They used to get hacked. The large amount of money, people used to lose money. But Gnosis safe, you can say it. Their multisig wallet is kind of the industry standard. Why is that? Because they are time tested and they did a lot of audits, you can say, and they pretty much became an industry standard. So the smart contracts are actually not safe when let's say they are in very early stage, you can say. But as they get time tested and they get used and pretty much they become a standard, you can then trust it pretty much for huge amount of funds. So Aave, I guess it has billions of dollars, so it's in the Gnosis safe, right? And the bug bounties, obviously there can be some bugs that are there in these projects. So these do bug bounties continuously on platforms like Immunify, which kind of incentivizes this stuff, that somebody, a white hat hacker, will find out the bug and it will get fixed easily. So that's the thing. So we need to research a lot in the smart contract side. We need to decentralize these centralized exchanges as well. So you can hear CZ. So he and Vitalik Buterin have recently announced that they will be collaborating for a new proof of reserves kind of protocol. So CZ is like a first test case for Vitalik Buterin. People were saying. So yeah, so centralized exchanges need to build or integrate with decentralized protocol to allow a kind of random kind of in points of time for these proof of reserves to happen continuously, right? So we need to build protocols around that.
Correct.
Yeah.
See, only thing I want to add, right? So what I'm saying is, I'm not saying this is the right approach, this is the wrong approach, right? One thing is, like, people need to build capabilities before. See, it's almost like when you are getting your old your parents who are like 50 years, 60 years onto the digital ecosystem. You just do the basic knowledge transfer, right? If someone calls you and asks for OTP, you don't transfer them, you don't give them those, right? You should never tell your debit card number or credit card number over phone. So these kind of basic training needs to happen to the common people before they can actually be capable of using MetaMask, right? I'm saying build that capability and then start using it. I'm not saying don't store it by yourself. I'm saying first build the knowledge, right? So see, basically I run a crypto exchange, right? So I have over 10 lakh customers, right? I'll say hardly 50,000 people will understand the difference between a hot wallet and a cold wallet, right? If you're storing your own funds, right, through MetaMask, right, that MetaMask should be a hot wallet, right? The NFTs and other cryptocurrencies that they're no longer touching should be part of a cold wallet, right? How to do this setup, right? All those things needs to happen, right? So a customer who is getting onboarded into crypto today, day one, day two is not ready for any of this stuff, right? Day two is not even ready to even interact with a smart contract because he doesn't understand. So he understands. See, it's if we are able to, like how a Google Play Store or an iPhone does, right? Curate set of safe DeFi protocols, right? Then it's not a problem. But DeFi is an open world, right? We say that there should not, it should be permissionless. So what happens is you're also having a lot of malwares, right? Also, you go to any average user of a computer in India, right? You look at the amount of malware that's there in the system. You look at the amount of bloatware that's there in the system, the amount of toolbars that they would have downloaded, right? So I'll say these people, they should never, ever get into MetaMask, right? Because clearly there's a huge risk, right? So they need to have a basic uh, infrastructure in place, right? Basic knowledge. There should be some capabilities before they can get into this, right? So I'm saying build that capability, right? So it should be more training programs. Even centralized exchanges like us should devote some time to train these people, right? How to safely store these cryptocurrencies by themselves, how to self-custody, right? Or they can start using hardware devices like Tracer, Ledger, right? Again, even this at this point in time is slightly expensive, right? The cost should come down, and even within that, there is some kind of again seed backup and storage that is required. So people need to be trained, right? Right now, everything is happening in the virtual world. There are no customer care centers that people physically visit, right? You look at people who are not equipped to do things online, they generally walk into a bank and do a lot of stuff, right? But with respect to crypto, right, even Giottus, we don't have a place where customers can physically visit and have their problem solved, right? Everything happens through phone or a chat interface, right? And with respect to DEX, even that is not available, right? None of the DEX provide any kind of a support system, a customer support, right? So when these things are there, right, I'll say customers should enter crypto, spend 3 to 6 months time, educate themselves of the problems, right? They should spend a lot of time in Twitter, what goes wrong, what can go wrong, right? And after they have a fair understanding, they should deposit a small amount, or even right in the first month, they can deposit a small amount in a MetaMask, right? They should build those capabilities, right? How to use MetaMask properly. After 3 to 6 months, they can be confident of storing crypto by themselves. Then they should do it, right? They should not invest 20 lakhs, store it by themselves, and within 3 months, they have this problem. Oh my God, I made this mistake, right? It should not come to that. So that is my only concern.
I think the point to make.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Arjun.
Is that the centralized exchanges definitely have the funds to do user education. Yeah, Shantanu, you can state your point. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry for the interruption. So yeah, I definitely agree with Arjun. Adding to that as well, so I say that crypto is obviously, we all know that it's a high risk asset, right? It's a very volatile and it's high risk asset. So people who want to invest in it, so maybe they come out of greed for profits and various other reasons, right? So not looking at the security aspect and investing in it is like you are driving a car, right? You are driving a car and you are saying that you don't want to look at the road, and you don't want any accidents, and you want to go at top speed. That's what these people are doing. They are actually not sitting in not even in a BMW. They are sitting in a Ferrari. They are going 150 miles an hour, and they are not even looking at the road. So this is what is happening. So definitely,
So
people need to be aware of
Shantanu,
security
I think
aspect.
that's the reality, right? That's the reality we should understand.
Yeah.
That's the reality we should face. So see, when you're investing as an investment, basically as an investment advisor and financial advisor from 10 years or so right now, most of the investors don't like to educate themselves into what they're investing. They normally rely on some other person. This happens even in traditional investments because they don't have the time themselves in that aspect of it. maybe some who are curious enough, they go into the length, in depth of it. They understand what they're investing in. They understand it can be crypto, it can be gold, it can be mutual funds. And some don't act. If that is the very reason why most of the people don't shift their asset class to. If somebody is relying on, if somebody is relying on real estate, they don't normally shift from real estate to other asset classes because they don't have the time to spend, educate, and learn about the other asset classes. So in our generation, basically don't go into real estate much in a larger scale. I think maybe because of our parents going to real estate, because they take care of it for us. But given us a chance, if they leave it to us, they will not go into real estate, right? So that's why I think that user education in this space, correct. One more aspect to add is that decentralized exchanges don't have the funds to do user education, whereas centralized exchanges have the funds to do marketing and user education. That's where they are actually taking the gain. Actually, if Uniswap or SpookieSwap or QuickSwap or any of them are conducting equal amount of educations, like user education to make users understand, I think they will go a long way to go. They have a long way to go.
Also, in that, I think the retail, like you rightly pointed out, the problem is not just with the decentralized companies, right, or with the exchanges, right? People are actually not ready to listen, right? When they say that will Bitcoin or Ethereum, which will go up, I'll say actually there are two different things. Bitcoin is trying to be an asset. Ethereum is trying to be a platform. Don't say all that, which is going to go up in the next 3 to 6 months. Just give me that, right? I don't care what is the underlying technology. I just need to go from A to B, right? That's all I care about, right? I don't want to understand how a WhatsApp works, right? I want to just send message to my friend, right? So some people are going to be like that, right? Who they don't want to get into the nuances, right? See, if you look at large HNIs, right, they have professional managers who handle wealth for them, right? Or they want a bank wealth manager to handle the wealth for them. They don't want it to get into the nitty-gritties. I think crypto itself should mature, right? I think Tracer Ledger is one step in that direction, right? But it's not a complete solution, right? So I think over a period of time, we will go towards that. We'll have trusts that will get created, like Bitcoin Trust, like what BitGo Trust or a Grayscale Trust, right? We'll have ETFs, right? That is when I think actual mass adoption in a safe manner will happen, right? Till then, right, people should choose between security versus convenience, right? There's always a trade-off. You cannot get both, right? DEX is secure if you know how to use it, right? But it's not very convenient. Centralized exchange is very convenient to use, to purchase, to store, but it may not be secure because you are taking additional level of risk, right? So people need to understand, spend some time. They should not do blindly things, right? I think, but over a period, I think people with more exposure, they'll definitely learn. As more and more scams happen, right? You don't want that to happen to yourself. You learn from other people's mistake, right? If I think people keep learning, I think at some point of time we'll have a proper digital India and digital world.
Yeah, and even I would like to tell you one thing is that even Ledger was hacked. So even that is not very secure or like very trustworthy because it hacked big. Just I think it was hacked last year. So the customer database of Ledger was hacked. Yeah. So you need to be very careful here.
So I think coming to the points, I think to summarize it, definitely there is good and bad for both centralized exchanges and decentralized exchanges. For decentralized exchanges, obviously it needs lots of user learning and trading with reliable smart contracts, which are already in space for a very long period of time and being tested by lots of users like Uniswap or PancakeSwap or SpookieSwap, which are there in the market for quite some point of time. But you may never know, right? It's a wild west. Anything can happen, actually. Anything can happen. And also centralized exchanges are definitely easy to use and the best mechanism right now available for users to on-ramp and off-ramp into fiat in the market. I think the market definitely needs to evolve in that aspect of it. So side by side, I was actually running some polls and there's some interesting answers which have come in, even some good conversations happening in the side chat also. So hopefully, I think most of you can see the polls results. Which is the most preferred choice of exchange? Obviously, 7 of them have actually of 10 votes. Decentralized exchange, centralized exchange. DEX has got the highest number of votes. And are you understand the topic? Able to understand the topic from the speakers? I think most of them voted yes. So that's a happy thing for 3 of us here. What's your preferred choice of centralized exchange? Highest was the Binance. So I think Binance is becoming currently the torchbearer of crypto industry. So I have this question asked multiple times from lots of my people who are investing along with me and also friends of me crypto. What happens if something like FTX happens to Binance?
I mean,
What happens? Hopefully, fingers crossed, nothing should happen. But I can personally assume the worst case scenario is happening. So, but what would be the result? With so many people, right? I'm like hard-earned money. I'm like, see, I'm happy that I personally don't have any money in FTX, but there are so many. Imagining same thing happening to my money, which is already either in some staked or some earn or which is already locked, which I can't remove right now in Binance, and something happening like that to a largest exchange, $70 million reserves. So it's like hard-earned money for quite lots of people. Actually, they lost that. FTX lost $10 billion. Is like huge amount of money. Lots of people lost that. We are able to hear lots of.
See, also I think
what I think on this is that if you have your hard-earned money that's locked in FTX, which I know a few people that has happened with. So what I had actually even said to them is that at the end of the day, it's something like money, right? So there is a quote from the Buddha that he says, this human being who got enlightenment and happiness. So he says that a wise person is not moved when he gets a lot of money, and even when all his money goes away, right? So he's kind of balanced there. So something like that you need to learn. So why is that? Because he knows that change is the law of nature. Everything changes. So even if everything has gone away, you can start from scratch. That's the only option you have. Or you just expect that it's the Bahamas police that has hacked FTX, like it happened on like the crypto seizure that happened. So maybe there is a chance that this crypto will get recovered.
I think definitely we can expect a Netflix series from it happening in the time actually soon.
I think also for
it's going on live.
Yeah, and see overall ecosystem, I think should not have players like Tether, Binance, which are too large, and if they fail, they can create tremors, right? It's better to have multiple smaller players than to have. It's almost like even in your assets, you say that you don't want to have a single large asset, right? You want to have a basket, diversify. I think crypto also they need to diversify away from just having one Uniswap, just having one Binance. We should have more options, right? I think that should be the way to go for healthy ecosystem. Yeah.
So I think before closing, I think your closing thoughts from both Arjun and Shantanu, if you just want to add any points to this one, and also any more questions. We have answered, I think, so most of the questions asked here in the Q&A, and the polls are also available. And plus, we will record it. I think we'll share it in the YouTube channels and everything also, so for people to watch it at a later stage. So before that, Shantanu and your closing thoughts, and then Arjun, your closing thoughts.
Yeah.
And what's the future steps?
Yeah, definitely. So I will tell my take on this. So what I felt when this happened, right? So when this exchange got collapsed, so and the next day it got hacked. So I remember putting a message to my group and saying that this was never safe. Like centralized exchanges and storing crypto on that. And so the hack that happened next day, I was not surprised at all, right? Because I knew something like that could happen. So this is something like crypto people need to learn. They have to learn to expect extremes can happen here. So it is better that they do not expect anything. So that's something that people need to learn, and just be happy. Keep building stuff. Keep building secure stuff, and keep building responsibly. That's what we all are doing right now. We are not actually trying to be very moved by this. We will learn from this, and the scammers and all these stuff that have happened, like people who are trying to scam each other, these will fall apart eventually, and only the people who are trying to build for good, for public good, they will prevail in the long run. Yeah.
So, see, I think we always think that had I been in 2005 in the investment scenario, I would have invested in Google. In 2000, I would have invested in Amazon. Right now, we have those opportunities. Now we kind of understand how difficult it is. Right, the kind of volatility. Probably this is how people felt during the dot-com bust. Right. So I think volatility is not just in the crypto prices. There is volatility in the way people treat crypto, the way the thesis, I mean, how the world believes in crypto, right? I think people who can only who can ride this volatility, only these people can stay in this space for a longer time, right? This whole thing of crash and burn, right? You live only once kind of an attitude. It's almost like playing a Russian roulette, right? You just keep shooting with one bullet in the gun, and at some point in time you die, right? You're already in a space where there's a lot of risk, right? You should not be taking any additional risk, right? Don't be too greedy, right? Don't go invest all in on all shit coins, meme coins, right? Be, what to say, rational, right? A rational investor over a long, I think Warren Buffett said, right, whatever you're saying is so easy, right? How come people are not copying you, is what people asked Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett said that no one wants to get rich slow, right? I think when it comes to wealth, patience is the name of the game, right? Stick to the fundamentals, right? See, it has happened to me also, right? I invested in Bitcoin and Ethereum for a long time, and you could see SHIB and Dogecoin zoom, right? But it's always patience, right? You have to let go of all those FOMO things and stick to what you believe in. Stick to fundamentals, right? I can always have conviction with Bitcoin, right? I can say that I invest my money in Bitcoin and sleep for 3 years, 5 years, Bitcoin will do good, right? I can have same kind of confidence for Ethereum. But with respect to meme coin, what I'm trying to do is flip, right? I don't want to hold it forever, right? When it reaches 1 rupee, I will sell. When it reaches 5 rupees, I will sell, right? This kind of things, right? You're looking to do something, and it's up to luck, right? And it's not even up to luck, because the fundamentals are very bad, right? The probability is against you, right? So I'll say that when you're already in a risky space, right, just take limited amount of risk, right? Be conservative and play the long game. Don't play the short game. Try to get rich slow, right? Even if you are making 15-20% year on year, that is good enough over a long period of time. Don't try to make 1000x and then lose all your money, right? That's why don't do options, don't do derivatives, right? Don't do, see, I think even in Uniswap, right, most of the people who have done LP have actually lost money, right, because of the impermanent loss, right? How many people who do LP in Uniswap, I mean, how many people understand what is an impermanent loss, right? So actually look forward before you leap, right? Understand DEX, how it works, what is impermanent loss before you do something, right? So I think that kind of a basic learn and do stuff should be there. It should not be like, I'll install an app, I'll try to dabble with it, I think I'll learn from that, right? That is the kind of normally approach we have, right? When it involves money, I think a certain level of conservative approach is required. And all the best for people who are looking to stay in crypto for long term.
Yeah. And one more point that I like to add is that regarding Uniswap, right? So you said that LP providers, like liquidity providers, they have permanent loss, right? So that is regarding Uniswap V2, which is the older version of Uniswap, right? There is Uniswap version 3. Yeah, there is Uniswap version 3 right now, which kind of gives you the option to provide concentrated liquidity. So that decreases the chances of impermanent loss.
It increases the chance of impermanent loss.
No, people still lose the money. It gets so when we are speaking of fluctuations of 90% losses in coins, obviously you can't be saved, right? So that's always there. I mean, like coins are losing 90% values, right? From the top of this one. So yeah, I think providing for even people who provided LP for Luna UST, UST lost heavily. Stable coin, actually, that's a stable coin. So yeah, I think it's a wild west. Nothing might invest. I mean, like, obviously, you should
I think
definitely be
I'll say
educated.
if you're going to Wild West, wear a bulletproof vest and then go, right? Don't go to Wild West unarmed without wearing any vest. If you're going to die for sure, right? I think knowledge is your vest. I think Twitter is your gun. I think you should properly use it, and then you can survive, right? Yeah, and you can make a kill. Yeah.
So, guys, thank you, Arjun. Thank you, Shantanu, for being part of this webinar. And also, so everyone, I mean, like, I'll be posting this in the YouTube channels, and also you can share it with your circles and community for people to watch, like, what the interesting conversation we had today. And guys, also do follow Giottus, Quill Audits, and Yasaswy and Chennai DAO. So these are various projects working on multiple things right now. And Giottus being an exchange, Quill Audits being a smart contract auditor. When you can see the contrary opinions from both the people. I think we had fun in this chat actually this one in the webinar. So likely to bring with more interesting topics in the coming weeks. And thank you so much. Thank you all for attending. Thank you once again, Shantanu and
Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah, welcome.